shooting, they had the opportunity to provide a full, fair, and independent investigation to help us live up to those ideals. There are significant gaps in this investigation, and that's not just a problem looking backward at the shooting. It's also a problem looking forward to how we can fix the system and make sure that similar tragedies don't occur in the future. A full, fair, and impartial investigation would have asked, what are the roles of informants in sting operations, and how do we make sure that they're not situations that border on entrapment? A full, fair, and impartial investigation would look at how law enforcement agencies control the animals that they use during police raids to make sure that people in police custody aren't attacked by police animals. And given the gaps that we saw in this investigation, also looking forward, I think we need to look for policies that ensure that when there are cases of killings by law enforcement agencies, the investigations are rapid, that there's not a 7-month delay, that they are impartial, and they look at all of the facts and all of the context in the case. We need a full investigation that looks backwards at what happened with the shooting of Imam Luqman, and we need that to be complete and fair and impartial, and the basis for moving forward to create policies for the FBI and other law enforcement agencies to ensure that this kind of policy, this kind of attack, this kind of tragedy never happens again.
After Pastor right here makes the comment, then we'll avail ourselves for a brief period of time for any questions that you have.
Well, my comment would basically embody this whole incident as being systemic of what's wrong with America right now. Our president has called for transparency in all areas of government, and I believe that transparency needs to be introspective as far as the FBI is concerned. The FBI has a track record of sweeping things under the rug, selectively sweeping things under the rug. And it's going to take individuals like myself and the religious leaders who are here present in the room to make a stand that, that we honor due process in America. One of the hallmarks of our Constitution, one of the hallmarks of our American tradition is due process and transparency, that we've all been endowed with certain inalienable rights. And so this Imam Luqman, he deserves his rights. He deserves to be fairly judged and fairly accounted for. And so definitely I stand in solidarity with these leaders to do whatever we have to do to make sure that justice is served. And I think it's well overdue that we've been jaded. We've been jaded to things that happen. We've been jaded as far as corruption is concerned. And sometimes you can be involved or engrossed in some things so long to where you become insensitive. But now is the time to become active, become vocal, and become visible. And I believe this is a case as well as any other to make a stand.
Thank you, Pastor. We can move it over. Answer any questions from, we don't have any more TV here now, it's radio and print, but we'll take any questions. We'll start with you, Sarah.
But it sounds like for the folks who were at the meeting yesterday, that felt like it was kind of a one-sided presentation. Could you talk a little bit about what questions were asked and were any of them answered?
Yes, definitely. The questions was asked about my father having a gun, and there was no proof of my father ever having a gun. How did my father get shot in the back? There was no answers for how my father got shot in the back. Why was my father targeted? There's no answers. So it's, I mean, why was the everybody there? Why was all these task force? Why couldn't they, if they had an arrest warrant, why couldn't they just go and arrest my father at home as opposed to using their informants to bring him to a place and kill him?
Can I answer something? When Imam When Imam Walid and I were walking into, along with members of our organization, walking into the building, there was a crude attempt to separate us from meeting the family exiting. It was actually a quasi-military tactic to isolate them from us. I was so incensed at the insensitivity and just the arrogance and ignorance of that kind of behavior. We were coming in one door, they were trying to shuffle them out of the other door so we would not see each other. And I have to say, you know, it raises questions in my mind, just from all of the faith leaders have raised here. From a spiritual standpoint, what kind of people are these?
So the DOJ folks, just so I'm clear, they met separately with family and with advocates.
Yeah, but
That's
go ahead, I'm sorry, you can amplify what I was saying.
That's correct. The family had a meeting at first from 2 p.m. until around 3:30. Then there was a meeting with advocates from about 3:30 till about at least 5:30. And I want to highlight this, and I'll let Attorney Masri make a point. I want to highlight the incivility of the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department.
Right.
When I asked a specific question in terms of how close the dog was to Imam Luqman when he allegedly shot him, and he said that basically the dog was up in his face, in the face of Imam Luqman, I then questioned him of how could it be that the 4 shooters were not asked questions until 7 months after the shooting, in which they all had the exact same lawyer. They had to go through the same lawyer just to get questioned. He then said, well, I believe in what the shooter said, and I interviewed the dog handler. When I interviewed him, he had tears in his eyes because he loved the dog so much and missed the dog so much. I'm like, to hell with that dog. We're talking about a human being, and he's going to talk about a police officer, an agent who was involved in the killing of a human being is tearing up because of the death of an attack dog. That's what this dog was. It was not a nice little puppy dog. Freddie the dog was an attack dog who was on top of the imam, sinking his teeth into him, and the imam had a jaw broken, which clearly shows from the reports of the government was broken from the impact of that dog attacking him. This ain't no cute little dog. He's talking about the agent was. What about crying because a man died in a military type operation? This is what I'm showing you, the insensitivity of these individuals within the Department of Justice. Go ahead, Lena, and then we'll get the next question. Go ahead, Lena.
At the meet. At the meeting yesterday, we did get a lot of information from the Department of Justice, and that's the fact that there is no information. What they told us was, there's no ballistics, there's no fingerprints, there's no DNA, there's no audio, there's no video, there's no witness statements. The only witnesses that were taken, their statements of, were the 4 shooters. That was 7 months after the shooting. That was the entire evidence that this report is based on, and that is no evidence. Everything is circumstantial. They can't even prove that he held a gun. That's the information that we got yesterday. It was very informative. It was very instructive. They answered all our questions, but the questions that they answered were all in the negative. We have no proof.
Thank you. Next question?
And
then you, Jeff, after.
That was going to be
Stephanie,
my
go ahead.
question. I know that there was reportedly a video of some surveillance or something, and you're saying that they said there was no video?
There is video surveillance footage. However, the imam himself was obstructed from view, and so the imam is actually not in the picture during the shooting. So they're asking us to accept the statements of the 4 shooters of what happened. We told him to surrender. We told him to show his hands. Where's the proof of that? We told him to show your hands or we're going to sick the dog on you. Where's the proof of that besides what they're telling us? Why aren't there any statements from all the other FBI agents? There were 66 agents there. Where are the statements from the other people that were present at that raid? Where are the statements of the 4 people that were arrested that day alongside the imam? It's true that